Hi and welcome to Cosmic Consciousness with Cassia. On this channel we discuss all aspects of the ascension process. I have a variety of services that I offer to assist in your awakening journey, and you can find those listed in the description box below. Today we're going to be doing a video on retrograde season. This was requested by a couple different people, and so I wanted to put together a video for you guys just talking about the different energies of the planets that are currently retrograde right now. We have 4 planets in retrograde, and Chiron is going to be joining them on July 15th. So just what we can expect from these different planets during their retrograde seasons, how long they're going to last, and some general guidance from Spirit as far as how to navigate this and what might be coming up for us. Now, when I chart my retrogrades, I go from the day that the planet stations to begin changing direction until the last day of its final station before it actually begins moving in the opposite direction. And what I mean with the quotations around moving is that really these planets only appear to be moving backwards from our vantage point on Earth. They're never actually changing direction, but the way we see them changes direction, and therefore the way that we experience their energy also changes direction or flip-flops. One thing that's important to note is that everybody's natal chart is different. And so if you're a person who has one of these planets in retrograde in your natal chart, then retrograde season may feel more comfortable to you. And there are a lot of planets, as we're going to learn as we go through here, especially the outer planets, that are in retrograde for a good chunk of the year every single year. And so there's going to be a lot of people, excuse me, possibly even close to half the people watching this video whose planets are natally in retrograde. And so if you want to check out your own chart and where these planets are placed and whether they're in retrograde, whether they're moving direct, whether they're stationed, which means that they have an incredible amount of power in your chart because their energy is the strongest during that stationing period where it appears not to be moving at all. And this is what happens as the planet is slowing down and then changing direction. It has that period of standstill where its energies are really magnified. And so we feel this very intensely, which is why I include it in the dates of the retrogrades. But you'll be able to see all of that different stuff by looking up your natal chart. There are tons of different websites out there that you can go to. I like astro.com. Or actually, no. I like Cafe Astrology. Astro.com is the one that's typically recommended that I usually throw out there. But I really like Cafe Astrology. There is an Astro Charts app that you can order. I use personally for all of my astrological work, I use Astro Charts Pro, which just gives you more options where I'm doing different things with the charts. I need those extra options. But the free one probably works really well for charting your chart as well. It does, you kind of need to know a little bit about how to read a chart and the symbols of the planets and such in order to fully utilize it. But at the same time, you really don't, because if you click on anything, it will pull up a description for you with a little bit of an interpretation. Another app that I like to use is, I believe it's called Astro Matrix. I used to use it a lot. I'm going to pull it up here so that I can see, so I'm not giving you guys the wrong name, because it's been a while since I've used it. Yes, Astro Matrix. That's actually a really fun app, and they give you different interpretations, and they tell you about the different transits that are happening in your chart. So that can be a really fun one for people who are getting into astrology. But through any of those different things, you can figure out your natal chart. You guys could also reach out to me if you want. I do tarot readings based on your astrology chart where we go over different transits in your chart. Or I do phone consultations where we just go through some of the energies and talk through the energies of your chart. I used to do full charts for people, but it's a bit time consuming, and it was getting a bit too intensive, and I just didn't have time to keep up with that. But I do still do the phone consults. So if you guys are interested into that, send your email and reach out to me, and I will do all the work for you of telling you where all your placements are, and we can go over your chart over the phone and pull some cards on it if that's what you would like to do. But without further ado, we're going to get right into this. And so we have Saturn, who went or stationed to begin turning retrograde on May 19th. And Saturn is going to complete his station and then begin moving direct on October 14th. So on October 15th, he will be moving direct again. October 14th is the last day of his station. We have Pluto, who stationed retrograde on April 24th and will be in retrograde until October 9th. And then on October 10th, Pluto will resume his forward motion. We have Jupiter, who stationed retrograde on June 16th and will be retrograde all the way until October 21st. On October 22nd, Jupiter will resume forward motion. And then we also have Neptune, who stationed retrograde on June 21st and will be continuing that retrograde all the way through December 4th. So on December 5th, we'll see the forward motion once again of Neptune. And Chiron, who stations retrograde on the 16th of July and will resume forward motion on the 21st. So it will be retrograde all the way through until the 20th. And as I said, this includes the time where the planets are stationed. And sometimes they're stationed for about a week. And so I think a lot of people end the retrograde at the first day of the station. But I keep it going because we're still really feeling that energy very powerfully. And so it feels like it's more appropriate to keep it that way. And there was another thing I wanted to say about the retrogrades. Yes. So even after the retrogrades are over, we have the post-shadow period. And so this is where the planets are then moving back to the point they were in the sky when they first went retrograde. So as they're covering that ground once again, it's like the effects are slowly dwindling. And then we feel the effects of the directness of the planet fully once they move through that post-shadow period. And I didn't go through and list all the post-shadow periods for you guys. Maybe I should have. What I can do is afterwards, I can go and put that in the description box below for you guys in case you are curious about that. But these are all very natural cycles that we go through. And when the planets are direct, we're feeling their energy directly, right? It's forward movement. When the planets go retrograde, it's a much more inverted experience. I don't think inverted is the word I'm looking for, but I'm having trouble pulling out the word. So it's that introspective kind of energy, right? We're going within. We're reconsidering. We're seeing things from different vantage points and different angles and sort of revising, regrouping, all of that energy. And then we're putting our energy out and forward when the planet moves forward again. And so it's just a really great way of balancing. And we see this most acutely with Mercury retrograde, which really, if you understand the patterns of Mercury retrograde, that's the pattern of every retrograde, really. And so it's a balancing act, right? Mercury moves direct, and then at some point, 3 times a year, goes backwards and into the retrograde period for a few weeks. And so we get that opportunity to reconsider, to see things, to understand things from a different perspective, and then move forward again with that added wisdom and that new perspective as we continue on. And so we see this 2 different degrees with different planets, but it's the same idea. It's the same energy. The outer planets are often experienced more collectively, and their influence directly in our lives is a little bit more subtle. When our personal planets retrograde, it is very intensely felt. And then we have, and so when I'm talking about personal planets, I'm talking about Mars, Venus, Mercury. Those are considered our personal planets. And then we have, of course, Jupiter and Saturn, which are still inner planets. So we still feel the effects of those more strongly. And then when we have planets like Pluto and Neptune, we're experiencing it very much collectively, and we're still experiencing it individually, but it's a little bit more subtle of an experience, especially when we're looking at, say, Pluto. Pluto spends half the year in retrograde. So it's literally half the year that we are in this period of revising and understanding, where we have all of that subconscious material coming to the surface, right? All of our subconscious anxieties and fears, our deepest, most taboo desires coming to the surface. We really sometimes have death and mortality and all of these things very, very much on our minds. Pluto retrograde is a time of transformation, of transmutation. And then once we move into Pluto's direct phase, it's time to really move forward in our lives with a deeper sense of empowerment, with a deeper understanding of ourselves, our drives, our needs, our desires, our power, right? Our consciousness, and those aspects of the consciousness that we sometimes hide even from our own view. And then we're able to move forward and really put into practice what we've learned about ourselves in our lives. And so that's where you can see this really long cycle where it's The energies aren't felt as intensely also just because of the length of the cycle and the fact that it's pretty evenly split. So we're just moving from one end of that spectrum, one end of whether we're learning and transforming or we're living that out in the world. We see those energies, the way that those play. And then we have Neptune, which goes retrograde for about 5 months every year. And so you can see how this is a theme, right? Like these planets, they do this pretty consistently. These outer planets. And so it's very much just that balancing and how we're balancing. So the different things to expect from these different retrogrades. We have the Chiron retrograde. And so when Chiron comes out, there's an energy that can be similar to Pluto in some ways, because Chiron represents our healing and it represents our deepest wounds. So those subconscious wounds coming to the surface for healing, where we're really focused on our healing process and gaining ground when it comes to that. We're really examining, we're really having things brought to our attention that are wanting to be healed. And these are those things deep, deep within us. This isn't surface level stuff. And so it can be it can be intensive, even though Chiron isn't what we would call a personal planet necessarily. However, when it comes to our deepest wounds and our healing in this lifetime, what's more personal than that, if you ask me? Neptune, when Neptune goes retrograde, it's actually very interesting because Neptune is the planet that often does represent illusion. It represents dreams, the dreamscape, illusions, mysticism, all of that 12th house stuff, right? That stuff that can't even quite be named. It's just that fluid void of the feminine kind of is the Neptune energy. And so when Neptune goes retrograde, it often brings truth with it. It's that energy where it requires us to see beyond the veil, to see behind the facade. And this is the facade in others as well as the facade within ourselves. And so it brings truth into focus. And anywhere where we've been avoiding looking at the truth or we've been viewing things with rose-colored glasses, it's sort of like those glasses get taken off. And so this can be a little bit jarring sometimes. But of course, it's necessary for our forward growth and movement. Neptune retrograde is also a time where our dreams may be more vivid. We may really feel more psychically connected. And so people who have a natal Neptune retrograde placement probably have a deep mysticism and very powerful psychic abilities naturally, but it's really helping to activate those within all of us and sinking us more deeply into those. And so all of those much more deeper esoteric questions are on our minds between the Pluto retrograde and the Neptune retrograde, where we're really looking deeply into things and we're really connecting with our spirituality. You add the Jupiter retrograde into the mix, and that really intensifies that. Jupiter is the planet that represents expansion. It represents luck. It represents optimism, as well as faith and ideals and beliefs and all of these different things. So when Jupiter goes retrograde, it's really a time period to reconsider. It's a deep period of spiritual growth, where we are reconsidering, we're reevaluating, we're getting a deeper look and understanding at our own personal morals, beliefs, and values, at our own faith, at anywhere where we may be lacking faith. This is also a time where we may notice opportunities that we hadn't noticed before. So this is just like those moments where we kind of miss the boat with something. Those may come into our awareness and come into our focus. And so what we want to do with that is we don't want to look at these missed opportunities and be like that 5 of Cups card in the tarot where we're crying over spilled milk. We want to instead acknowledge the opportunity that was present and bring that into our awareness so that next time an opportunity is presented, we may recognize it a little more easily than we did before, right? So that's the energy. That's the way that we want to really empower ourselves with this energy. We also have Saturn. And so Saturn retrograde is interesting because Saturn is the planet that governs karma. Saturn governs responsibilities. It governs boundaries. And so all of these different things are going to come very much into focus: work, career, the structure of our lives, right? The way that we go about accomplishing the things that we accomplish and the lessons and the wisdom. And so we're really looking back at some of those lessons and the wisdom that we gained from them during this time. We may experience karmic returns during this time. And so this is what people might consider good karma and bad karma, which is really just karma. And it's all, like we said, karma is just lessons. And so those returns for the energy that we've put out may come back to us during this time, and the acknowledgement and the understanding of these lessons. And if these lessons haven't been learned, we may get an opportunity to learn them on an even deeper level during this Saturn retrograde. We're also just going to be looking at our responsibilities. We're going to be looking at the nuts and bolts of these types of things and where it is that we're prioritizing our energy, right? This really, we felt this energy already when we had that Capricorn full moon. And so we're really building off of that and understanding the ways that we structure our lives. Is that working? Is it not working? The ways that we invest our energy. Is that working or is that not? How do we balance our responsibilities? What is truly our responsibility and what is not? And I think that's a big thing that a lot of us have been working on, realizing and understanding, is like, what is my responsibility and what isn't? What falls on me and what am I taking on unnecessarily? All right, so let's get into these cards here. What are we going to do first for retrograde season? We'll pull some Black Moon astrology cards. Clear. Let's get some guidance or some energy for retrograde season. Energies for retrograde season 2021. And we will have Uranus going back into retrograde later this year. Uranus has been direct for most of this year. We will also have Venus going into retrograde. I believe she goes in December, but we'll cover that when we get to it. And of course, we will cover the other Mercury retrogrades as well, individually. Mercury and Venus being personal planets, we're going to feel those energies much more intensely. Mars spent half the year in retrograde, which is very, or not half the year in Aries, but quite some time in retrograde last year, which is not typical. The retrograde part, but the being in the same sign is not necessarily typical. Mars does not retrograde every year, and so we won't be experiencing a Mars retrograde this year. All right, retrograde season 2021. Let's get some energy here. All right, so we have Mercury retrograde reinvention coming out. Like I said, we can model and understand every retrograde if we understand the energy of Mercury retrograde. And it is that energy of reinvention. It's that energy of analyzing, of seeing things from different perspectives. And with the Venus card coming out, which is very much about love. So we have a reinvention throughout. We are reinventing the ways that we see and understand love. The ways that we give love, the ways that we receive love. Right? The ways that we love ourselves, the ways that we understand the concept of love. What is love? Right? So a lot of people think about love and they think about romantic love, which until we become highly evolved is really a conditional kind of love. It can sometimes be a fleeting type of love. We think about the butterflies in our stomach, right? And that's maybe what we think of love. We think maybe those of us who have children think about their children. There's different ways that people conceptualize love, but I feel in this retrograde season, we're coming to a deeper understanding of what love truly is, what self-love truly is, how we love and care for ourselves, and how we could be doing a better job of that. Also, just love as an energy, love as a vibration, love as a truth, right? The entire universe is built of love. Love is the ultimate vibration. And so it's really tapping into like a higher understanding of love and a higher expression of love during this retrograde season. So I really love that. I really love that. Just the ways that we're going to be working with that energy. And then we have the Aquarius I know energy coming out. So this is the energy where throughout this retrograde season, it's feeling like we're going to get a deeper understanding. And because we have this deeper level of self-acceptance coming through, and we're really reinventing the ways that we see ourselves, the way that we express love toward ourselves, right? Not just toward others, but toward ourselves. We're coming to this deeper knowing of cosmic truths, spiritual truths, of our own truths, and of who we truly are. And we're stepping more deeply into that. And we're really allowing that to be seen more. We're becoming more comfortable being seen, and we're becoming more comfortable truly seeing ourselves. Because until we can be comfortable seeing ourselves, we're not going to be comfortable allowing other people to see us. And so there's this understanding of us stepping more into our authenticity, and us really stepping more into our knowing, like our claircognizance, right? Claircognizance is a spiritual, a psychic gift. And claircognizance is that gift of knowing. And so that's when you simply know things without knowing why or how. It's the explanation, all of the, you didn't research it, you weren't even necessarily channeled it in a way that you could hear or comprehend. It just, things come into your mind as a knowing, and they are absolute. Right? And so it's like we are learning how to tap into this more, how to tap into our inner knowing. We're starting to activate that sense within us. And we're learning so much. And we're being open to learning so much. And I'm really being drawn to the water pouring out here. As we know, Aquarius is known as the water bearer. And so that water really feels like, it feels like truth. There is some emotion in it. There is some emotion, but it's mostly just, it's like, imagine if you were so thirsty for something, right? And in this analogy, we'll make it literal. We'll talk about water. You are literally so thirsty for water, and then you get that sip and that feeling as your thirst is quenched. I feel like for many people, and now I'm thirsty, so I'm going to take a sip. For many people, that's what this retrograde is going to be. It's going to be quenching their thirst for self-knowledge. Questing their thirst for knowledge. Whatever it is that you are seeking illumination and knowledge around, you are going to receive that illumination during retrograde season. And it may not always be comfortable, right? And that's an energy, especially with the Jupiter retrograde. Jupiter is the planet of comfort. And so during Jupiter retrograde, sometimes if we have gotten so comfortable that we're not expanding the way Jupiter would like, the comfortable will become uncomfortable to the point that we must make a change. And so it's like some of these knowings, these realizations, these deeper understandings may not be comfortable, but it's like we asked for them or we needed them. Right? It's that energy of be careful what you wish for. But in this case, like even if as the understanding is coming in, you're starting to wish that you didn't know, that you could unknow what you know, which of course we know we can't. You need to know it. It's important that you know it right now, and it's important that you accept it and you don't attempt to shove your head back in the sand. Like we have to be willing to look at what's coming up, to acknowledge it, to accept it, internalize it, integrate it. Then we have the 8th house, endings and beginnings. So there's going to be a lot of endings and beginnings going on. And remember, the 8th house is the house that's ruled by Pluto. And so this is the house of the occult. This is the house of life and death and rebirth, of deep intimacy, right? The house of sexuality, the house of shared resources. But it's ultimately, at the end of it, right, the house of transformation. That's the simplest way to put it. It's one of the houses of the soul, part of the trinity of the soul, which would be the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th house. And so we're looking at this. There's a lot that's going to be shifting and changing. A lot of things are going to be ending, and I feel like some things are going to be ending and then immediately beginning again in a new form. So it's going to be really interesting. There's just going to be a lot that's shifting, and we're being asked to allow it to shift. We're being asked to allow the endings to end and the beginnings to begin. The things that you learn and the things that you know, that you develop this knowing around, this understanding around, once you know them, like we said, you can't unknow them. And so that is going to initiate within itself an ending and a beginning. It's like the ending of who we were and the beginning of who we are now as well. And then we have the Capricorn I use. And then it's all about, how do I put this to constructive action? Right? This is about resources. This is about moving forward. I feel like a lot of people, even though retrograde season is very much an energy of rest and it's an internal energy, I feel a lot of people making great strides forward during this time. I see a lot of transformation for people around career, A lot of people having endings and beginnings when it comes to career, when it comes to like social standing, and the ways that people are perceived, and the types of social groups that they're a part of. There's just a lot that's shifting in the way that you are seen, the way that you see and the way you are seen. And definitely a lot that's shifting in career as well. And if you can apply what you're learning and seeing during this time, you can really begin building something, even during retrograde season, that is really going to be able to flourish moving forward. And this is karma for some people coming through too. Good karma. Oh, that's so funny. Right as I said that, we have Jupiter return benefits. And we have the 5th house creativity. So this is like a renaissance of creativity. And this is also, the 5th house represents everything in life that makes life worth living. Right? All the pleasures of life, the joy. This is the house ruled by Leo. So it's all about children. It's about dating. It's about all of the fun pastimes that we do, the ways that we express ourselves, the ways that we really, this is where the zest for life is held, is in the 5th house. So it's like a renewal of our zest for life in a lot of ways. And it's like a huge renaissance in our creativity, in our ability to be expressive, in our ability to enjoy and find that joy and fulfillment in life. Like there's a lot of fulfillment and a lot of creative energy that is coming through here. And like we said, a lot of those karmic returns. And so those karmic returns could come in all kinds of unexpected ways, I'm feeling like too. Yeah. And it's this energy of, it's like I'm noticing this face down here, and it's sort of like a fun house, right? And so the fun house. And so like when we're thinking of, oh yeah, it says fun house right here. I didn't even notice that. I never noticed that before. And so what happens in the fun house? What I'm seeing in my mind's eye right now is how they have all those mirrors. And those mirrors are like optical illusions. And you're in that hall full of mirrors, and your body looks all distorted in all these different ways. You can't tell. It's like you get in there and you can't even tell which reflection is really yours anymore, because you're just seeing so many of them. And so that's like an energy I think that we may be experiencing. We're seeing all these different reflections of ourselves, and then we're being asked to guess which is the real one. And it's not. And when we're thinking of that, we're thinking that we're supposed to know, like, oh, that's like there's a right answer. And so the trick here, the fun, is that there is no right answer. Whichever one we want can be the one that we are. Right? We get to choose which reflection of us is real, is accurate. And so we get to play around with that. We get to play around with how we see ourselves, with our identity, with so many aspects of our essence and who we are during this retrograde season. There's a lot of that, and there may be points that feel very confusing. I know in my life right now, personally, it feels like everything is just upside down and on its head. Like I have no idea what's going to happen from one moment to the next. I have no idea. I thought that I had an idea of the trajectory of where my life was headed and sort of where things fit in, at least in my life. Maybe not where it was headed, but where things fit. And just some idea of some consistency. And there's like none of that now. I have no idea. I don't know. I have an idea of some things that I intuit may be happening, but there's just so much that's in the air. So there is that confusing energy. It is that sort of like, I'm picturing like twirling around in that hall of mirrors. And it's all the reflections are whirling by, and we're just feeling really, really dizzy. But then there gets to be that point. I don't know if you guys ever did this when you were a kid, where you spun around and around in a circle until you got so dizzy that you fell down. But at one point we fall down, and then when we get back up, it's sort of like that's how we figure it out. Is that moment when we stand back up, all of a sudden we know who we are. And we know where to go, and we know what to do. I don't know. That's a really weird analogy. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's just what's kind of like spinning through my head right now. But there's definitely quite possibly a lot of confusion, things that aren't making sense. But just know, just go with the flow of it, and know that more and more is going to be revealed, and more is going to be coming through. And I feel like the universe is getting really creative in the ways that it returns things to us, right? And this doesn't necessarily mean old things in this lifetime. but it returns the things that are meant for us. Right? Jupiter return. Any other energies here? Oh, whoa. Okay. So we have the 7th house partners coming out. And then we have the Gemini and Sagittarius coming out together. I think and I see. And remember this, we have the nodes right now in these signs. We have the North Node in Gemini, the South Node in Sagittarius, right? So this is that shifting of beliefs that we've been talking about, that we're also seeing happening with eclipse season. We are seeing just a lot of shifts from this solid idea of what we think we know to opening up our perception and our minds to more, which of course is what the retrograde season is all about. The nodes also currently in retrograde right now. I'm not a super expert on the nodes. I figured we had enough going on with this video without getting into the nodes retrograde versus direct, although I'm fairly certain that the nodes are retrograde through the whole year of 2021. But this, we can apply the same formula, right? It's this formula of rethinking, reevaluating, seeing from a different perspective, which is, of course, what this axis is all about anyway. And so when it comes to our partnerships with this energy, we're really noticing what's going on in our partnerships. And another asteroid that I didn't mention that is also retrograde right now, I do believe, is Juno. And I know that Juno is conjunct the South Node, opposing the North Node currently. We've talked about this energy in a couple videos a little bit. But Juno is the asteroid that represents partnership, marriage, all of that. And so it's really interesting that these come out as we have Juno conjunct. And there is no Juno card in this deck. So this would, the 7th house partners would be the closest thing here. So really that energy very prevalent as we are reassessing our partnerships. And this with Juno is specifically romantic, right? And this doesn't have to be like, there's also energy of this for any type of partnership or relationship. But we're really feeling it with romantic partnership and with those types of relationships in our lives right now, where we're seeing things from a different perspective. We're really getting a deeper understanding of our relationships. What's working, what's not working. We have the South Node on the bottom of the deck with the Virgo I Analyze card, right? So what's working, what's not? Where am I getting what I need? Where am I not? What do I deserve? What do I really want? Are my current relationships, am I too much in my head when it comes to my relationships? And do I need to expand my perspective so that I can see from the bigger picture in things, right? We may be coming to an understanding throughout this retrograde season of the different relationships in our lives and the part they played in our evolution, of the different soul contracts that we've had. And some soul contracts are ending while new ones are being established, or I guess established. They were already established before we came here, but new ones are coming into play, right, as we're resolving the old ones. So we're understanding our soul contracts. We're understanding what it is that people came here to teach us. And once we see, then we're able to move on from that into a different energy and a different experience. Clear. All right, let's get a couple cards from the Work Your Light deck for this retrograde season. Retrograde season 2021. What guidance do we have? And so we have the Starseed card. What lights you up? Jupiter retrograde especially. And also Neptune, I feel, are really asking that. Jupiter retrograde is asking us, where have I moved away from what truly moves me? From what I truly love, and how can I move back toward that? What have I done? What were the things, the actions, the choices that I made that moved me away from what lights me up? And how can I find my way back to that? Right? And Saturn retrograde is going to help us understand the structures that played into that, the lessons that we learned throughout that process, and then what it is that we can do concretely to move in that direction. Even Pluto really bringing into focus some of those deeper desires. Oh yeah, and it looks almost like Saturn here, and ooh, and maybe Jupiter. If you look in the background, I just noticed that. Yeah, so those two planets really helping us where that's concerned. And then we have Keepers of the Earth. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. So that's your team just coming through, letting you know that although this is an intensive journey, it's one that you signed up for and you have so much support. You didn't sign up to do this alone. Even if it feels like you're doing this alone in the physical, you are not doing this alone in the non-physical. And you won't be doing this alone in the physical for too much longer either. Not only do you have all of us that you are connected to who are branched together all over the world, right, going through this process, you have your ancestors, you have your guides. There is so much support for you. Right? We are keepers of the earth. And so it's just an acknowledging of that. And I feel like some of the benefits that are coming through for people, some of these karmic benefits, have to do with being a keeper of the earth. Being a light worker, being a starseed, being a light bearer. Right? I really like the term light bearer. Because that's what we do. We're here to bear the light. We are here to ignite others. Right? But how do we ignite others? First, we have to allow ourselves to ignite. And that light, it's sort of like, I'm seeing like a prayer vigil where one person lights a candle and then they light the candle of the person next to them and it goes around and around and around, right? But you have to light your candle first. And so it's really like light your candle. If your candle has been blown out, how can you relight it? What caused that, right? And how can we adjust that energy? How can you light that candle back up again? Yeah. But because you are a keeper of the earth, because you came here, you agreed to do this, that will be rewarded. That's a message that has come through for me many times, and it's come through. I think my friend Nikki channeled that from somebody the other day as well. Just talking about how even if it feels like we are living in struggle, even if it feels like there is a lack of abundance, that's all an illusion, and that's not. If that is your experience, it's your experience because there's a lesson to learn from that. There's something your soul wanted to understand about that process. However, we didn't come here to be impoverished, right? We came here to light up the world. And so we are supported in that, and we will be supported in that. And Mother Earth is coming back and giving some benefits and some returns to people, I think, for their hard work, acknowledging that hard work as a keeper of the earth. Acknowledging what we are doing here, birthing this new age. This is not the new age of lack. This is not the new age of poverty. This is not the new age of scarcity. This is the new age of abundance, right? This isn't the new age of fear. This is the new age of love. And so we are meant to experience all of that. We will. We are. It's just about shifting our perception and our mind state, right? Reinventing that mind state so that we can plug into that, we can connect to that, and we can see that abundance and that beauty all around us. Yeah, so, and this is about birthing new creations too. So I think there's a lot of creative inspiration that's going to be flowing in. And I feel like for some people too, it's like whatever you're being creatively inspired to do, however you're being inspired to use your creativity, that is going to be a really that's going to bring you some of these returns, these benefits, this abundance. So really pay attention to that inspiration that's coming through. Those creative endeavors that maybe you put off for a while, or you started something and then you forgot about it. And now the retrograde season is reminding you. Whatever it is, pay attention to that, because there are incredible benefits there, especially if it's something that has to do with lighting that fire within humanity, right? With assisting in this creation of this new earth. And remember, anything creative that you do does that. We are creative beings. We are taking back our understanding and our power of what it means to be co-creators. And we co-create with spirit. We also co-create with each other. Because remember, I am spirit, you are spirit, everything is spirit. And so what are we co-creating today? And just know that that's where a lot of those benefits. I think a lot of people are wanting or expecting things to just pour in. And they're not realizing that they are pouring in. They're just pouring in the way of opportunities, in the way of inspired ideas. And so just pay attention to what's coming into your reality. What's coming into your vision, what's coming into your mind and your heart that's wanting to be expressed. When you express that, when you give life to that, that's when that's what creates that energy of abundance. And then we have the crumbling. What are you clinging on to? So anywhere where we're still clinging on to something that is not resonant with our soul's path in this lifetime, something that has outlived its purpose, remember, it's going to be very uncomfortable to keep clinging on to something that's no longer meant for you. Very uncomfortable. And so how we experience this retrograde season is directly proportionate to how willing we are to let go of what's wanting to leave, right? This endings and beginnings energy. If we are seeking to control, if we are seeking to keep things in our reality or in our lives that are not meant to be there anymore, if we are determined to walk down a path that is no longer meant for us, we're going to encounter roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. We're going to feel that resistance. It's going to feel very frustrating. It'll eventually break us down to the point where we give up. Right? But we don't have to get to that point. We can release it, we can let it go, and we can welcome in the new now. Right? We don't have to go through that journey. And then we have Dance with Life and the Council of Light. Yes, see, divine orchestration helpers in the subtle realms. There are things, everything is being divinely orchestrated right now. If you follow that orchestration, if you dance with life, right? It's sort of like, imagine that there's music playing and there's a certain way that your body wants to flow with the music. But at the same time, it's like you learned this choreographed dance once and you really want to do this choreographed dance. And you are determined that you're going to do this choreographed dance. And the music that's playing does not support that dance at all. It looks absolutely foolish to try to do this choreography along with the music that's playing. So that you try to force it anyway. You try to change the station. And every station that you change to has music that does not go with this dance. So what are you going to do? Are you going to keep trying to do this dance? Are you going to... or are you going to just relax and allow the music to flow as it is? Right? That's kind of the energy of this right now. That's what dancing with life is all about. It's listening to feeling the rhythm that's playing within your soul, listening to it, hearing it, energetically vibing and aligning with it and moving with it. That's all we're being asked to do right now. And we have so many helpers. We have entire teams, entire councils, entire confederations, right? Who are here to support us and guide us if we allow them to. So allow them to understand things are being, if something's being divinely orchestrated, you can't fight it. It's not going to work. The orchestration of the divine is much more powerful than we are. Yes, we are very powerful. However, that orchestration is more powerful. And so it's going to be a struggle every single time. So do you want to live in a constant state of struggle, or do you want to learn how to live in a state of flow? All right, what else have we got here? Yes, the ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. So they really want to hammer that point home. It's happening for you, not to you. So if you feel yourself getting into that energy of holding on, if you feel yourself getting into that frustrated energy, that energy where you're trying to force things that do not fit, then it's time to release that. It's time to relax. It's time to understand that even if things seem like things aren't going your way, the way that you thought, and your way, remember, is just the way that you thought it should go, that from your perspective you believe is correct. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Know this is happening for you. This is an opportunity. Even those painful understandings and realizations, remember, this Chiron retrograde is bringing up our deepest wounds. Right? The Pluto is bringing up our subconscious fears and anxieties. Jupiter is making us uncomfortable if we have gotten too comfortable and we've become stagnant. Saturn is really showing us these lessons. Saturn is wanting us to employ the wisdom, right? And so if we haven't learned these lessons, Saturn is shoving them in our faces once again. Neptune is removing that illusion so that we're seeing truth. And so with all of this happening, it can be painful, but just understand that pain is also a powerful force of growth and transformation. So surrender to that, allow that. Just don't try to fight it. Don't try to fight it. There's no way to fight against it. I don't know, for some reason I was thinking about that song, like Can't Fight the Moonlight, or just the understanding of like, whatever it is. Don't fight against the tide. Don't fight the moonlight. Don't fight the transformation. It is completely pointless to do so. But if we need to, we need to. Sometimes that's what we need in order to learn. And so if that is what we need to in order to learn, we can fight. But like we said, it's not going to get us anywhere different. It's definitely not going to get us anywhere better than we are right now. Things are being orchestrated to move us into that better. Although, and I hate saying that sometimes because that makes it seem like right now isn't good enough. And I always have this energy that I fall into too, where I'm always anticipating the next amazing thing that's going to make my life better. And I realized that it really takes all of the energy and the appreciation out of right now. So I'll put that caveat there, but it's moving us toward what's next. All right. I'm starting to ramble there, so I'm going to cut that off. And I'm just going to do, what do I want to do here to close for you guys? Yeah, I want to do a Sacred Rebels card for you. Clear. Let's get some closing guidance from the Sacred Rebels deck. Closing guidance as we navigate this retrograde season. We want to be constantly aware of our energy and our vibration moving forward. It's so important, right? So we want to be caring for our vibration. We want to be taking care of the situations, the places we put ourselves in, the energies that we are taking in, what it is that we're consuming on every level of our being, because there's such powerful transformation happening for us right now. Okay. So we have the Sacred Fool. And then we have Dream a Beautiful Dream. And isn't that gorgeous? Look at that beautiful grid of light. That beautiful sacred geometry around the planet. And I'm going to read both of these for you guys. And I just already know, what is the Sacred Fool, right? Oh, these are so perfect. So perfect. The Sacred Fool is a great rebel, able to thwart convention and tell the truth without restraint. Your heart is a wonderful, powerful, sacred fool. It cares not for the right way to do things. It cares not for what the mind says is real and not real. It lives according to an inner wisdom that cannot be dictated to or controlled by anything. It loves, it lives, and it is what it is. This oracle heralds a time, now or imminent, when you will feel inspired, alive, and passionate for what you can offer to the world. It says to you, don't try to be appropriate, don't try to be socially acceptable, and worry about what others may think about what you are doing. Just be. If you want to wear a mad hat whilst doing so, fine. The Sacred Fool in you, and this is what we mean about reputations changing, the ways that people see us changing, right? Allow that to change if it needs to change. The Sacred Fool in you is willing to leave behind what has been because it no longer feels right to stay attached to it. The Sacred Fool in you trusts life completely. It would never occur to this part of you to try and outsmart life or resist its flow. It recognizes that the mind is a monkey puppet on strings. More often than not, it is cajoled into fear when it could be playfully dwelling in the radical spontaneity of life. So the Sacred Fool in you urges your mind to let itself be pulled into joy by your heart strings, not into fear and doubt by the controlling machines of mass media. This oracle brings you a message. It's time for you to play. It's time for you to let life happen in a completely unreserved, unscripted way. And that's this energy that brings in the blessings, right? The more bizarre, left of field, unexpected, and apparently ridiculous, the better. This might not feel safe or appropriate at first, but that is okay. That is good, actually. It is a sign that you are breaking with your own self-imposed conventions. It is time to move beyond them now because a bigger life adventure is calling to you. This is wonderful news. It is the desire of life to operate more radically through you so that you can become the conduit through which miracles and crazy, wild synchronicity can occur. You are becoming more eclectic. You are more plugged into the apparent randomness of life. Apparent because there is a refined intelligence behind it all, right? The Sacred Fool goes with this without having to understand any of it, which is good. Trying to access even one genuine glimpse of life's unfathomable genius would probably make one's head explode. As you take this journey, you may find that people around you are challenged. You might unintentionally cause them to rethink the way they live their own lives. They may question whether the way they are living is the only way for them or even the best way. At first, they may react rather than take responsibility. The sacred fool in you doesn't engage with this. It is what it is, and it rises and falls as it will. It doesn't stop you from being your merry dance of unconventional being. If you find yourself making choices that have others questioning your sanity, then you are on the right course. You may feel that you are quite possibly going insane, but you are not crazy. You are just approaching enlightened awareness. There is a moment, sometimes a rather long one, when we wake up to life, shed our attachment to mass opinion, and float in a completely different state of being. We might find that no one is really able to understand or connect with us, to the point that we question our state of mind. Stay with that. It will pass. You will eventually see that you are becoming sane in an insane world. The tables will turn and you will gain great inner freedom and creative juice. Stay on your path. Stay on the journey. Remember to take nothing too seriously and it will all work out perfectly. Boom. How perfect. And this is card number 40, by the way, for you, those of you who like the numbers. How perfect is that? Become the sacred fool. And we're going to read number 19 as well here. And this is reminding me, I think it was the reading that I just did for the next 13-day wave spell that we're in the middle of, or we're just beginning right now, the Yellow Warrior wave spell. So check that out if you haven't. There was a lot of energy, a lot of similar energy, I think, to some parts of the Sacred Fool reading in that. And so Dream a Beautiful Dream says, the urge to create is the same within you as it is for the universal creator. It also has the same magical ability to draw harmony into being and to find beautiful order in chaos. This includes bringing harmony and the perfect balance of well-being into your body, mind, and emotions. This is also the part of you that wants to dream of beauty and bring it to life in as many ways as possible. And how you eat, dress, look, behave, make love, create art, relate to your community, write your poetry by moonlight or bathe by candlelight. Don't fight the moonlight, right? If you have come to believe that your love of beauty is superficial rather than a genuine expression of your heart's appreciation of symmetry, harmony, and grace, then you may block your ability to create harmony in your life. You may believe it to be an unworthy goal, yet beauty, genuine beauty rather than superficial glamour, flows from within. It is an expression of radiance within the heart and a love of life. If you have struggled with the obsessive attitude towards beauty that tends to prevail in human culture, then it is time you look to nature instead. Her beauty is boundless, quirky, and endlessly diverse. If you feel blocked, thwarted, or contaminated by others in your quest to bring beautiful dreams to your life, you may feel that your heart is dulled, minimized, or shut down. Small-mindedness can limit beauty to a very narrow physical sense. However, you can shun the social disease of superficial, narrow definitions of beauty. Thumb your nose at airbrushed images and dare to love what is. Honoring nature is one example. Give yourself permission to feel and be beautiful in many ways. You can feel harmony outside of what is supposed to be harmonious. If you are brave and wild enough, you can even find beauty and harmony amongst the chaos of change. Sensing that change is just the creative process kicking into gear. Realizing there is nothing to fear brings even greater beauty, harmony, surrender, and grace to the experience of life creating itself in more stunning forms through you. The experience of life creating itself in more stunning forms through you. That's really beautiful. Change is the creative process kicking into gear. That is so profound. If you are experiencing chaos in your life right now, if you are experiencing change and upheaval, that's because the creative process is beginning. That means that you are creating something. Something is shifting. Something is coming in. And it's causing everything else, like everything has to shift for that to happen. So that means that you are on the right track. That's really powerful. And I'm so glad that I heard that for myself as well as you guys right now. You are meant to dream of beauty and to create beauty. And it's far more holistic and creative definition. Beauty is meant to soothe the soul, inspire thoughts of love, devotion, and appreciation, and to balance the nervous system. These are healing effects. Healing for the creator and those that receive it. They are worthwhile. That's beautiful. Healing for the creator too. So remember that when you heal, you are healing for the creator. When you create beauty, when you appreciate, when you experience, when you radiate beauty, you are doing that. You are giving that as a service to the creator. A world without the beauty of art in all its various and unique interpretations would be a less colorful, less vibrant, less cheeky, and less healing place to be. Time that you spend dreaming of beauty and allowing it to be born through you in various heart-centered ways is worthwhile. Don't disregard it or discount it. The most beautiful dreams can inspire the practical, hard-working dedication required to bring them to life for the betterment of the world. This oracle also comes with a particular message for you. There's a situation in your life right now where you feel uncertain about your ability to fix or heal. You lack the inspiration to be able to imagine it differently than how it currently seems to be. You may therefore feel inhibited in your ability to bring about constructive change. However, the perfect beauty of this situation is not revealed by what you attempt to do to it, or through trying to impose the right dream upon it. It is to be healed and perfected into all that it can be through the revelation of the beauty that already lies within it. This happens when we accept the existence of inner harmony in all of creation, even if it cannot be consciously observed. By expecting there to be beauty within a situation, even if it is hidden, you will be more open to seeing the healing potential, even in your challenges. And so this is really important advice right here. Don't attempt to force the situation or issue to take the right shape. Instead, ask it to show its beauty to you. This might apply to your body, to your relationship, to your finances, your work situation, a new creative project, or anything else. From this place of inquiry, you will begin to grasp the creative genius of what is, and unveil not only its potential beauty, but how perfect it is for you at this time, just as it is. In opening up to the beauty within yourself and your circumstances, you also open up to change. What we accept can change most easily. It is when we resist or deny that change slows down and suffering persists, just like we were talking about earlier. You can overcome resistance and denial by approaching it with a curious mind, an open heart, and the healing process below. And then it also says this oracle has come to you because you have the power to be a positive influence in whatever situation holds the most meaning for you right now. And you need to know that. You have that power to be that positive influence. And part of how you do that is by seeing the beauty and showing that beauty to others. And so I'm going to put the healing process for this in the description box below for you guys, in case you want to utilize that. I just briefly looked at it. It looks like a very simple little exercise there. So I'll add that for any of you guys that want that. That, I think, summed this whole reading up perfectly. And there's really not much more that I can add to that, even if I tried. So I'm going to leave that just as it is. If you guys want any help one-on-one working through any of these energies, please reach out to me. My email is in the description box below. I have my different services listed, but honestly, if you're not even sure what you need, just reach out to me. Tell me what you have going on, what you want to shift, what's coming up for you, and I can recommend sort of what might be the best approach to address that and bring you some more support, some more clarity, and some more empowerment and healing around whatever it is that you're wanting to address or work on at this time. There are also links down below to donate if you feel so moved to do so. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. That is as good as a donation. Leave a comment. Let me know how you're feeling, what you thought of this reading, how retrograde season is going for you guys so far. I love and appreciate you so much, and I love hearing from you. Until we meet again, have a beautiful, blessed day.